going to preface this by saying this is a long read, but it's worth it. My friend and I were chatting about a creepy experience we had, and I'm finally trying to get to the bottom of it, so I figured I'd turn to Reddit for some answers, if there are any. People will probably think this is fake, but I don't care, believe it or not. I have no clue if this is an animal creature or a skinwalker, or it's just some very creepy animal. This took place around 2019, and I do live in Tennessee, right now on the outskirts of the Appalachian Mountains, so here it goes. Two of my friends and I were driving on the desolate back road at night. We were jamming to music and talking. Everything was normal. I was driving, my friend Hannah was in the passenger seat DJing, and our friend Chris was in the back seat behind me. Hannah was trying to pull up a song on YouTube that wasn't on Spotify, so it was silent for a bit while she was waiting on the website to load. But Chris and I were still talking. We came up on a small animal on the road, and I didn't think anything of it. Well, I expected the animal to move pretty quickly once it saw us coming down the road, but it didn't. As I got closer, I slowed down to let the animal have enough time to run off, but it stayed very still. It almost looked frozen. The closer I got, I could make out that it looked like some kind of cat. The only thing was, it didn't look like any sort of cat I ever seen. It looked like it had fur, but the fur was flesh-colored. Its ears were very small, almost like a kitten's, even though it was only a tiny bit bigger than an adult house cat. It was laying in a way that looked like the Sphinx facing us. The scariest thing about it, though, was its eyes. Not to sound overdramatic, but its eyes literally looked like the pits of hell were burning inside of them. They were a reddish-orange and had twinkles of yellow in them that reflected off the headlights. The whole car was silent, and I just stared ahead. The cat scared the shit out of me, and I still wasn't moving. I felt a huge pit in my stomach and began having intense anxiety. It was almost like I was frozen. But I was not about to stop to figure out what this cat was. At this point, I had to steer around it to pass it without hitting it. I was probably 3 inches away from touching this thing, and as I slowly crept by it, I watched through the window the entire time. It did not flinch. And its eyes still had the same glow even without my headlights directly on it. After we passed it, about 5 seconds later, Chris yells, "What the fuck was that?" I immediately start freaking out, shouting, "I don't know!" Hannah looks up from her phone and says, panicked, "What? What did y'all see?" She looked behind us and kept asking. We explained what happened and she said, "I didn't see anything behind us." Chris and I looked back and sure enough, it was gone. We drove up the road to a church and turned around in the parking lot. We wanted to get back to Hannah's house as soon as possible. When we got back, we rushed in and told her mom what we saw, but we didn't mention that it looked like a cat. We described it as a small animal. Her mother stops for a minute, then says, "Was it a cat?" We were blown away. We told her that it was, and she said that she and her cousin came across the same thing when they were teens, only it was in a different area and they saw it peeking out of the bushes. She still says to this day she doesn't know what it was, and she thinks about it from time to time, even though it's been 30 years. So I guess I want to know a few things. What was the thing? It didn't look like a bobcat, mountain lion, or a fox. Is it a demon, skinwalker, wendigo, an unknown Appalachian creature? I've heard all of the legends regarding the woods at night. Don't look up in the trees. Don't respond if your mother calls your name, etc. But everyone I've told either tells me it was probably a scared bobcat or that they never heard of it before. So if anyone has made it this far and has some answers, I would greatly appreciate them.